We can get started, I guess.
Yeah.
Oh, today, what is our first episode about?
We'll talk about feelings.
Feelings.
Feelings, a very important part of the process.
What's important about feeling? Why do they need to know about feelings?
Feelings are so important because we have five senses.
We do.
So those five senses allow us to interact with our world, and it allows us to be able to engage in a way that either feels good or evil. So,
But the senses aren't really feelings. Feelings are more what, like anger, love,
yeah, emotions.
emotions.
Yeah, yep.
So what is that? Why is that important that we tell them about feelings? How are we going to relate it to anything? What are we going to?
I kind of relate it to your ability to test the temperature, your internal dialogue to see where you're at, and are you operating in the natural or are you operating in the spiritual? And your feelings will truly be that gauge, that barometer that'll allow you to truly know where you stand, where you're at in the whole process of your spiritual journey.
Okay, I see that. Okay, so I see it kind of twofold. Yeah, it's going to be like a barometer, let you know where you are. I see it also as the thing that actually animates you, how it makes you, how it makes you react or respond.
Yeah.
And are you going to respond in a natural way or in a spiritual way? So we're going to be talking about feelings and why you have feelings and what is the, I'll go out and say the true purpose of feelings.
Yeah.
What is the true purpose of feelings?
True purpose of feelings, yeah.
Wow. And with that, stay tuned. Oh, but before we go to our little break, please click like or click dislike if you didn't like it and subscribe and comment. We would love to hear from you.
Yes, very much so.
All right. Take a look at this.
All right. Woohoo! All
Okay,
right.
so now the thing is going.
Feelings, nothing more than feelings. Today we're talking about feelings. Welcome to more. Cut it all out.
How do you feel today?
Today I feel I'm here, I'm present.
Are you though?
I am.
You are, okay.
I am present.
You are. I can
But
tell you're
I'm a
present.
little aloof, I think, though.
I wouldn't say you're aloof. I would say you're more
Relaxed?
you're relaxed.
Yeah.
You are a little lethargic.
Yeah. I was laying in the sun today.
And
so,
it drains you.
Yeah, yep. So,
And I worked all day and I'm just tired. So I got some coffee.
yeah.
And it's
So-
gonna kind of pick me up. But by the time we're done recording,
Right.
I'll be yeah. What happened to him?
Oh, well. Yeah. So let's get our vibration up, man. Love, joy,
wait.
peace,
Patience, kindness, goodness,
faithfulness,
gentleness.
self-control.
So how do we get our vibrations up? Let's talk about that real quick. Hey, I'm
Wow.
going on a tangent again. Already,
Right.
we haven't even started this show.
Haven't even started the show yet.
This is important though, seriously,
Right.
because like we said, we're going to talk about feelings, and you feel a certain way, and you're going to be animated by how you're going to be animated how you're feeling, and your feelings are going to tell you kind of like where you are, you know. And we've been talking a little down on our feelings right now, and we're trying to do an upbeat show. So we're going to do. I guess it's not live for you, but it's live for us. We didn't rehearse any of this, so
Yep.
we're gonna bring up our energy, bring up our vibration.
Vibration, yeah.
So let's see. How would you go about that? I'll tell you what I normally do.
Okay, cool. This is
Okay,
good.
so this is what I normally do. I normally stop and I think about the moment right now, not as in this time right now, but existence, all creation in this moment right now. What I'm doing right now, what Saturn's doing right now, the planet, what somebody on the other side of the world in China may be sleeping right now. Things are happening all at once. It's orchestrated. I think about all of that happening, the Earth moving around, the sun, and other galaxies moving around. Everything, the whole universe in this very moment right now exists, it's real, and I'm a part of it intentionally. I think like that, and then I stop and I relax then I have a sense of gratitude for actually being in this moment, being created, being able to exist and think and be conscious of what I just said, knowing how precious and valuable my consciousness in this moment is for my spirit, my body to be here. And then I'm uplifted and I feel like I belong, I have a voice, I have power, and I can be as I choose to be in my spirit in this moment. And there is no fault, condemnation, or hindrance for me in this moment. I am free to exist. And now I'm up. Okay.
Wow. I'm ready to take a nap. That was relaxing.
That was awesome. All right, let's go.
Yeah, that was relaxing, Charles.
Mm-hmm.
Really, I mean, that was beautiful. I think for me,
Okay.
in my process is
See, I fall asleep. Okay, what's your process?
yeah, my process is just monitoring my internal dialogue. So as I'm engaging something, what are the thoughts and judgments that are present in that moment?
Okay,
And,
you're kind of like filing through what's happening. In
Happening.
your internal, being cognizant of your internal dialogue.
Yeah,
Okay.
and if I find myself judging or condemning or having emotions surrounding that dynamic, then I just stop. I look at whatever the situation is for what it is, and then I repeat the fruit of the spirit until that becomes the prevailing dominant thought. And then that frees me from that space, frees from that moment, because I still need to feel. It's like I can't run away from feelings.
Right.
I still have to feel. So I feel it, I look at it, I judge it, and then I rejudge it, and then I just kind of,
Now, what if you find
through that.
What if you find that there's something in your internal dialogue that needs to be addressed? You find out, okay, this is a block. It's just I'm thinking about it because some action needs to be taken. Is that going to hold you? Is that going to are you able to set it aside and say, okay, I know it, I'm going to deal with it later, or what do you do with that?
Yeah, usually not. Yeah, because I don't like to have things linger. So I just deal with it then, and then I just move on. I try not to get into internal dialogues that now I'm trying to justify positioning myself to move forward. I just move forward in love.
Okay, I got you.
Because if I I don't really want to do this now. As I progress through it, now it's like drudgery. It's it becomes hard. It becomes difficult. It becomes something that I want to get away from. So when I find myself making a good judgment towards something I don't want to be in, I find myself like, oh, this is horrible. Having an internal dialogue.
It kind of makes it worse, right?
Oh, it does.
It builds it up.
Yep. And then your day gets drawn out, and then I don't get headaches, but I'm around people who I see make judgments like that, and headaches, body aches, things of that nature.
Next thing you know, you're in that mode. Somebody comes to you, snap, boom.
Yeah, and it's kind of like a building up process. Cite data points that you make one judgment which flows into the next, and then before you know it, you're like flying off the handle.
How did I get here?
Yeah. And it happened to me the other day.
Oh,
It
tell.
did. Nah.
No, but
Nah. It was
That's
something.
at the time of the place.
Yeah.
That'll
So-
be episode 16.
Yeah, right. Somewhere down the road. Yeah. But no, it was a situation I was put in. People made, decisions to move things around. And as they did, it created frustrations for me because I could not, I was in an environment where stuff was working. And then all of a sudden, these changes were made. And now
Your flow was
it was
interrupted.
all, yeah. And in that flow, I could not, now I've got to now create new problem-solving techniques to handle that environment, because that environment used to be under control, and now it's just flying all over the place. So
On top of still doing what you needed to do.
yes, and that can be very, very frustrating. Yeah. So when you're in a work environment or any type of social environment where you're dependent on other people to get things done, and then someone comes and makes changes who's not even in that environment, and they thought they've done something that was spectacular, and now you're working through that, you're like, man, this guy So you start to judge and fly off on the handle, and you're like, this is not working. So that's what basically.
Everybody's workflow, I've learned, is different. So,
Yes.
And some people come up with different things, and it might work for them. But I try to give them a chance sometimes because, okay, but that's not my way. I have to do it my way. Like
Yep.
I like to do things a lot of times that work the long way. People are like, but that's a shortcut. You can do this as a shortcut. When I start doing a lot of shortcuts, when something happens, I can't remember how to get it back. If I continue to do it the long way, I understand the foundation and the base of it. And then when something breaks, I can easily go in and figure out what happened. I'm not blinded. There's not a lot of little black boxes where I don't know what the little box is doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's
That's
a
just
beautiful.
that's how I work.
Yeah, and that's a beautiful principle.
Mhm.
That is a beautiful principle because it's the same thing as you begin to build your spiritual man.
Mhm.
You have to build your spiritual man with the basics. You can't take shortcuts.
Mm-mm.
The moment you take a shortcut,
Mhm.
you're going to miss some principles and some foundation that ultimately you're going to have to go back and start all over again. So, we got to get our basics down as to, our internal dialogue, our story as to our spiritual man versus our natural. Our natural man, that guy he's set, as long as,
For a lot of us.
yeah.
Even some of our natural men are just like jacked up.
Right, yeah.
But anyway.
Yeah, them jokers don't want to die, man. They're ruthless. But man, let's get into the topic today.
Yeah,
Feelings.
feelings.
Yeah.
So Derek's going to read the scripture, what this is based on. I think you tell him about how you came about this. You in your normal time, you saw this scripture and was like, oh,
yeah,
give me a little bit of that.
Wow.
So people know where this is coming from. We not just have like a plan somewhere. This is all not spontaneous, but it's just we're just living in the spirit. When something comes to us, we say, oh, that is a good principle. We should share this. And we want to try to go in order. We have some principles that are like advanced, or not advanced, but steps away. But we want to try to go in a kind of an order.
Yep.
So that people can ease into it, But
Yep.
tell us how you came about with this.
Yeah, so I'll read it first, and then we'll start to talk about it. So today's verse is from Acts 17, 26 and 27. And he made from one man every nation of mankind to live on all the face of the earth, having determined allotted periods and the boundaries of their dwelling place, that they should seek God and perhaps feel their way toward him and find him. Yet he is actually not far from each one of us.
There's a lot in there.
Yeah, there's a lot. Yeah, there's a ton of principles in this one. We're going to focus more on perhaps feel their way toward him and find him. The reason when I came across this verse, it hit me like a ton of bricks, because I had a previous teacher teach me that faith has nothing to do with your feelings. And this guy was a great teacher. I mean, very good teacher.
What was his name? No, I'm just,
Nope,
just
I
kidding.
could do that. Nope, no name.
You know who you are.
Yeah, you know. Yeah, but no, I can't do that. I can't say who it is. But when I heard it, and great teacher, taught me a lot of great principles, and the one that I commend him the most for teaching me and thanking him most for teaching me is it's not the spiritual at first, it's the natural, then the spiritual. But I really didn't really understand the full magnitude of that until many, many, many years later as to how eye-opening that one verse is. So like Charles says, there's principles that are further down that as we build a good foundation, we'll be able to get to those and be able to really expand upon and open our eyes to some really empowering, freeing, yes. Wow, I don't even know, you can't even really put words to it, because now I have so many principles running through my heart and mind that I don't even think the same way I used to. So
it's almost like it becomes a type of fuel. You run on a different fuel. It's like in the natural, you ran off diesel, and in the spiritual, it's the electric vehicle. It's quiet and smooth and just.
Yeah. You actually have to.
I'm getting off topic.
Yeah, you have to actually make the electric car make noise so people can hear it.
Yeah.
You know. So.
But yeah, so when you keep going.
So with that, our teachers are very important, and one of the principles that we are going to definitely be pushing, Jesus says the disciple is not above the teacher. And the best the disciple can become once the teacher's done teaching is to become the teacher. So whenever you get some principles that may be a little bit off, it could take you years of your life to discover other principles to free you from that misteaching. So,
or misunderstanding.
Misunderstanding,
because it could be taught right, but you just didn't perceive it the way it was
correctly.
intended.
Yeah, and that's true too. It's like, so there's multiple levels to growth and exploring, and this is why I think. Go ahead.
So that's why when you what I just said now, when you said your teacher said feelings have nothing to do with faith.
Yep.
So I was thinking when he first told me this, we were just talking about this a little while ago. I was like, oh, that's interesting, because I said that can go both ways. That can be true and not true. Is if the teacher was saying something like, this is my thoughts, obviously, because I can't speak his thoughts. I don't know why I said that, but anyway, if he was saying like feelings have nothing to do with faith, which he's presented it in a way like, I feel like I love Jesus, or I feel that I am saved and my heart is there, and I that I don't think has anything to do with faith. Right. But I think the way Derek took it. Wait, that's not. Wait, what's what I'm saying? Right. Oh yeah, but the way Derek is taking it, which is the way I take it as well. Our feelings, like we mentioned in the beginning, our feelings animate us. They're in us for a reason, and it helps us move, like the scripture says, move towards or find God, who is actually near to us already. Mm-hmm. So it could go. It depends on how the semantics of what you're really talking about.
Right.
So you really have to really understand what you're saying. You can't just read a verse and just take it as a word. You have to understand what you're talking about.
Right. Yeah.
Because there's meaning in many ways. I don't know. Meaning in many ways. I don't know.
It's yeah, and it starts with natural, and then you have a natural understanding of things, and then you have a spiritual understanding of things. So it's always going to take that progression, that storyline, that principle is not going to change.
Oh, so maybe that's a good point. So maybe in the natural, it has nothing to do with it, but in the spiritual, it has everything to do with it.
Yes, it does, and okay, that's where
that's good.
when I heard it as a young man, when I heard that feelings have nothing to do with faith, it was kind of freeing, because I was like, oh, I don't have to feel anything. I just have to believe what it says. But the issue with that is feelings have everything to do with it, because if you're not feeling,
you're not going to move.
Yeah. So it's like, if you're filled with the Holy Spirit and you don't know what to feel or what it should feel like, how do you, what feelings are you supposed to have? So we're supposed to feel. The whole idea of when we die, we're going to go someplace, we're going to be with God, right? So that's going to encompass some feelings. What is that going to feel like? Can we know now what that feeling could feel like? No one can determine that but you. Your faith is going to determine that dynamic. So how much faith you have is going to dictate how your emotions are reflected in the world. So, feelings, and I love that teacher, but I wish that when he said that blank statement comment, that he had gone into and maybe taught something about feelings, or
why he says is, why is that so,
Yeah, because because I could see where, let's say you're in a dire situation where, you need to be saved. Bills aren't paid, or you need some food to eat at night or something. I could see where, faith ain't gonna fill this empty stomach, but to have an emotional state that's so depressed, and then just walk by faith. It's like this.
or why couldn't faith fill that stomach? Because you might have to have faith that I got to take some action. I got to move. I got to get out of this car. I'm stranded. I got to
Mm-hmm.
go up the street. I got to move, as opposed to being paralyzed by fear. I'm
Fear.
stranded, got nowhere to eat, nothing to eat. I'm going to
Right.
starve to death.
Yeah. Yeah. And then you die.
But
Yeah.
you have faith that
Mm-hmm.
you're going to survive this. You're going to move.
Move
You're going to
forward.
do actions,
Mm-hmm.
which is again,
Right.
um,
You know.
Yeah.
You could have one of the things, one of the principles Christ teaches is to love our neighbor as we love ourselves. So, having the courage to maybe knock on a neighbor's door, and say, hey, here's my situation. Can you help me?
Releasing the pride.
Pride
or
and whatever. From this teacher that basically put that out. It took many years for me to get beyond that. So the way that I've seen growth in myself and people around me to where they grow very quickly is that there is no person between me and the teacher. So Christ is the teacher. So
Wait. Okay, say that one more time.
Yeah.
I drifted a little bit.
Yep.
Okay.
So
When you grow rapidly, you see.
right. So when you have somebody in between you, right, a teacher, a man,
Mm-hmm.
teaching you the word, it's his viewpoint.
Oh, in
and his
between you and the
experience.
word.
Yeah,
Okay,
in between you and the word.
Okay.
So the principles that I like to govern my interaction with the word is just me and the word, no man in between me and the word.
Because the Holy Spirit's going to be there to
Teaching and guiding and
Yeah.
opening my eyes.
Mhm.
Now, I've developed a practice of just listening to the word. Well, listening to, let's say, Matthew in comparison, the book of Matthew comparison to 1 Corinthians, and pulling out principles that Paul talks about here in combination with Christ talks about, that begin to open my eyes to say, hey, wow, this is amazing process that happens to our inner beings by understanding how these two guys, Jesus and Paul, what Jesus taught Paul. So when Paul was taught by Christ, he basically went to the wilderness for 3 years. So he had no other influences. So it was just him and Jesus. I really believe that's an important relationship that we need to have with the word. Like really getting to know what Jesus taught Paul, and then taking what Jesus taught Paul and then looking at Jesus's earthly ministry and then getting into that. It's like it's like the key that unlocks this full expression of actually finding God. And
who's already near.
Who's already near. So understanding that is like taking who's already near, and then you take another principle where Christ says the kingdom is over here, the kingdom is over there. Don't go seeking, because the kingdom is in the midst of you or is within you. So what you're seeking for, based on walking by faith and principles, this kingdom's in you already. But you can't unlock it unless you have faith. That's why Paul, principle, says walk by faith, not by sight. So who is this principle for? As far as anybody that's walking the face of this earth, knowing that there's more than just getting more earthly natural stuff.
In this case, I think this one is for all mankind. I was going to say that anyway, but
Right.
I was going to say because the last one was for believers.
Right.
Because you have to have, the last episode we talked about,
Yep.
receiving the Spirit, receiving the gift of the Spirit.
Mm-hmm.
But this is a principle that's just real for any human, because God made humans with emotions, with feelings.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to use your feelings one way or the other, in the natural or in the spiritual. And using the natural, there may be some times where things work out. You have a great moment. You're experiencing wonderful things because that is something that's given to you from God. Those things are meant to be that way. But there'll be some times when those feelings will get you trapped, stuck, or make you do things you never thought you would do before. That's even if you're not a believer. These things are going to happen. But if you're not a believer, you can still know that this principle, that there is more. And by not being a believer, you can move towards, Jesus to unlock that more and use your your emotions, your feelings, to guide you through the spiritual, which you'll find is going to be more satisfying. Like we talked the last episode, quenching thirst, never being hungry again. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Um, mankind.
mankind.
Mankind. You know, if you were to look at like the news,
Oh, oh my God.
Right?
Here we go. No.
right? No, I'm just look at the news. I mean, seriously, like look at the news. All the emotions that are expressed
Just
in the
he-
news.
just in the headlines.
Yeah.
They try to work on your emotion to get you to take action to watch them. They'll say
Mhm.
3 things that will kill you in your kitchen. Live at 11. It's like, what is in my kitchen going to kill me? I got to wait till 11 to find out.
Right, yeah. I used to hate that as a kid, man. They drop that headliner and then they go right to commercial on you. I used to hate that.
Yeah,
You know, but it's so crucial to understand. Like, even if I didn't want to be a believer, right? Even if I just wanted to be a worldly person straight up, what understanding Paul and Christ gave us through their interaction and the principles that they share with us is truly what animates mankind. You know, what animates you, and once you have a good understanding of that, now you can begin to test your environment, test the spirits.
And I'm going to say that once you test spirits and you find out if they're working in the natural or the spiritual, you can pretty much predict how those emotions are going to be animated in them. So you can predict their outbursts, their, their retaliation, their pride, their anger fusing up if they're operating in the natural. Or you can predict that they may have peace.
Yep.
They might be patient, have love, gentleness.
Yep.
And you'll see it. And that's a wonderful thing, because then you know how to relate to people. You know when to quiet your spirit, because some people, what's the verse you were saying, that they're just not going to get it.
Oh, yeah. If our gospel is hid, it is hid to those who are lost.
Yeah.
So those who that are natural and, think that is their reality, there's nothing really you could say to them. So
Because that is real and 100% to them.
yes, and those emotions are
As strong as yours.
Yep.
So,
Yeah. So to try to get them over to one side or the other, it's and those people, I find compassion and love for them, and and I actually enjoy them also. I mean, there's some really great people.
Oh, yeah,
so
yeah, sure.
but it's in that space, in that place, that's where that is, and that's where I leave it. I don't try to do anything more or less with them, because again, if they're not in the Word, they don't want to hear it, then there's no reason for me to even talk about it. I'll just let them, kind of live their life and do their thing. And if they're happy, I'm happy, But for those who are hurting and they have this aching in their heart and their mind, and they know there's more out there,
we want to share with
we
them.
want to share with these dynamics. So feelings are very, very important through that process. So this is for all of mankind, because it would benefit all of mankind to really know what animates them. What is causing my emotional state, and why do I keep having these problems?
And why do I do what I do?
Yeah.
And if we didn't have feelings, we'd just be catatonic, just laying there, nothing to do.
Yeah.
And I think some people have. I think there's some kind of illness or something. Where
It's
people
called
just,
depression.
Depression does that too.
Yeah.
And, or you get catatonic, where you just
Yeah, you
can't
can't
do anything,
move.
Can't do
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah, it's almost like a deer in headlights. It's like you're looking at life and it's so overwhelming. You're just like, you know what? I'm just gonna just sit here and not partake in it. It can be somewhat stifling as far as one's expression. So we have for seekers, we have for all of mankind a basic understanding of what animates us.
I think that is the big takeaway here, is that this is important because this is who you are. This is your existence, your life. This is how you move through your short time here existing on earth. So if this is the main thing that's in you that drives you on this earth, don't you want to know, how it works and what's going on, why it's there.
Why it's there? Yeah.
God put it there for us to find Him, to have more, to be find the internal kingdom within ourselves, which is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. Because in that space, in the kingdom, your existence here, and as you animate yourself, is freeing, powerful. We can't even think of all the different adjectives to describe it.
So, let's do this. So,
Okay.
got a question for you.
Uh-oh.
What?
Is this a Derek question or is this a regular question?
This is a regular question. So, what in the natural
Okay.
would an individual feel?
Okay.
So we'll start with there. Let's just
Wait.
break that one down.
You didn't finish. Wait.
Yeah, that's the question. What in the natural would a person feel? What emotional states? Because we know if you're in the spiritual, the fruit of the spirit.
I see what you're saying. Okay.
So what in the natural?
I see what you're saying. I'm trying to think of how to say this because I don't want to negate something because I think the feelings and the definition of them can be kind of ambiguous. I think they can feel happiness. I think in the natural you can feel peace in the natural. I think you can feel gentleness. I think you can feel a lot of the things that are in the spiritual, but I think that those things aren't natural in the natural. I think you feel them momentarily, they're fleeting, but the things that stick and stay in the natural, you feel anger, rage, lust, pride, things like that, sloth, gluttony, all those things. I keep using those, but those, they really drive home the thing. And those things, they stick and they come. They're not necessarily fleeting. They want to stick. They want to be the norm. They want to be the base. You have to work at feeling peace. You have to work at getting some rest, some joy. You have to work at it really hard. And I think those are the things I'm just answering the question. That's what you feel in the natural.
Yeah. I think in the natural, it's like when you eat, you're gonna get hungry again. So, that's in reference to its fleeting.
Why are you pointing at me?
Yeah, no, that's in the reference to its fleeting,
yes,
right?
Yes.
So, you eat, you go to a baseball game, the excitement of that. Well, when you leave the game, that emotion's gone. But if you keep going to baseball games after a while, it's like, oh, this is every day. It becomes boring almost. It's like I've seen so many of them. So when we entertain ourselves, that's one form of emotion that can get our emotions up. And then, when it's over, they come back down. So in the natural, we're designed to feel good,
bad, or indifferent.
Or different, yep. So that is that particular state. And as long as we're here on earth, we are going to feel
something.
And typically we take a reference point compared to another, and then that
that reminds me of, go watch last episode, because we were talking about this thing here.
Yes.
I'm not going to tell you what that means. You have to go watch the episode. But that gap.
Yep. Yeah. It's an important gap.
Yes.
Because that's where the testing comes from.
It's always going to be there. It's going to make you feel inadequate. Not measuring up.
Yep.
And we create this gap. We place this gap on ourselves. We lock ourselves in this cage.
Right.
But that's not what this topic is about. We're going to stick to the topic, which is feelings.
But in that, again, that's a feeling, and then and it's not like we cannot not feel those.
We cannot not. You did.
Yeah, you can't. You got to feel those things. And I think, everybody wants to feel good, but no one wants to feel evil. When you lose that loved one, that grandmother or that grandfather that you spent your whole life growing up with and seeing them, had all those special moments, when you lose that, some people don't want to feel that emotion. I'm one of them. I lost an uncle when I was young. I didn't even go up and look at the body. I'm like, I don't need to see that. That was very difficult for me to to go
Process,
through
yeah.
and process. So I just kind of, instead of dealing with that emotion, I just, I'm going to go, I'll wait outside. When it's over, I'll catch y'all later. Because I wanted to have those memories of him that were good. I didn't want to have the memory of him laying in that casket, so that emotion was heavy for me. But we are designed to feel. And later on, with my grandfather, I had a military man take me to the side of the coffin and take me through that process of grieving. And I thank him for that, because it wasn't as scary as I thought it was.
Right.
It wasn't,
And you get closure,
Right,
It's
yeah.
like,
Yep,
you
yeah.
need that, yeah.
So we need, and we're designed to feel, but typically when it comes to the evil side of emotions, we want to shut down and push those, but in the natural, you're going to feel those. And to embrace that dynamic and feel it, and then come back to who you are spiritually, is what gives us power. So, what's that, 2 Timothy talks about, we have not been given a spirit of fear, but a spirit of power, love, and self-control, or sound mind. So when we allow external events to dictate our emotional state, that's when we give away our power. That's when we're operating in fear. So in order to operate in power, it's done through faith. We're able to feel those emotions, but then come back to the core of our spiritual essence of who and what we are in Christ. And that's ultimately love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control. So I could say that 1,000,000 times a day, because that's what literally keeps my spirit up. That's what keeps me.
That is what's real. That is the kingdom. That is within us.
Yep.
That's our foundation. That is beautiful.
Yep. And through that process of coming to that understanding, I had to understand the natural. So how did I create this recurring theme in my life that continues to play out over and over again? Those were all the things basically I was running from. All I did was move to the good, because I got good at these particular dynamics. And then all the bad, I just kind of, sweep that under the carpet. Yeah, like, oh, you can't see that.
With a big lump. You tripping every time you came in the room. Boop, oh,
right. Yeah. So, Charles,
yes,
when
Derek,
we look at the principle of keep your mind on things above,
that's a big one,
not on things below. I think this is a good way to kind of test the spirits, right? I want to kind of read this one real quick. I found it just the other day, just listening. This is an area of the Bible that I don't really go into, but after I listened to Paul's writings, I just let it play, and I went through Hebrews and Paul and James and got to John. So here it says, there is no fear in love, but perfect love casts out fear, for fear has to do with punishment. And whoever fears has not been perfected in love. So when we think about, we break this verse down, keep your mind on things above, not on things below. Okay? Fear would not be in heaven. It would not be above. So fear would be down in here. It deals with punishment and consequences. Right? And whoever fears, whoever's down here, has not been perfected in love up here. So to keep your mind on things above allows you to perfect this love.
And get rid of this fear.
Yes.
Because you have been forgiven much up here. There's nothing to fear because you've been forgiven through Christ. And down here, you have that fear.
Fear. You're going to get punished. You're going to suffer a consequence for your actions. Up here, it's, I typically just, as we talked earlier, keep your mind on things above. How do I get my emotional state up? How do I get from this lethargic kind of, kind of, you know, discombobulated state of being? How do I
Sun
get?
drained.
Yeah, yep. So I get my mind on things above. I come in, I see something I don't like. I'm okay. Here I'm here. I just immediately rejudge it and come back up here. Love, joy, peace, patience. How would God judge this?
I think I got a trap door. You're like, oh wait, look at the letter.
Yeah, literally. Yeah,
Because who's going to bring something at you at any moment? People can shock you. Boom.
Any moment.
And just throw you off your game, and you're like, stop.
Yeah.
Take a beat.
There you go. Test the spirit.
Love, joy, peace, patience.
Yeah.
Faithfulness, gentleness, self-control.
Dude,
Love, joy, peace, patience. Love, joy, peace, patience. I'm telling you.
Yes, yeah. It's so important. It's like that internal dialogue. But when you're operating off of sight data, you're always going to see good and evil. That means that good and evil is expressed here. So if I feel happiness, that means I have the potential of feeling sadness.
Somebody's going to take away my happiness. Or somebody's going to do something to mess it up. Or this isn't going to last long. It's so wonderful now, and you start. People do that
all the time.
Like, oh, this is so great, but it's not going to last. It's going to be over. And then you start thinking. Then you're just ruin
the rest of the evening just goes to crap. So our words are powerful. Our words are spirit. That you can speak life or you can speak death. That's what happens in this realm. When you have your mind on things above, you constantly speak life. So you have to lose your life to gain your life. And when you gain this and you create that, and each one of these are seeds. So if I plant natural seeds, I get natural emotions. If I plant spiritual seeds, I get spiritual emotions. So this is the power that we have. We don't have to be subjected to the emotional state that this world, we feel it, don't get me wrong, but we just don't stay there and allow this to be dictated to us in a way that this becomes who we are.
We don't let this animate us.
Yes.
We can feel it. We acknowledge it.
We
it's
observe
real,
it.
It's there.
Yeah.
And we move on. We don't dwell on it.
Yep. Don't dwell on it. Move back up where we are. And this is principle. Count it all joy.
Count it all joy.
Because trials, they're going to come. Like you said, there is stuff outside of your control that's going to come in your environment. And you can give up your power and feel that emotion and point the finger at the other person. Or you can
try
say,
to protect yourself or whatever,
Oh, yeah. I've been there. Yeah, that's tough.
It wasn't me.
Yeah. No.
It wasn't me.
Yeah. But again, what that looks like is you're using what type of data would you defend yourself with?
What do you mean?
So if you get into...
Oh, me personally?
Yeah.
Sight data. I mean, sorry, not sight data. Not me. I would do spirit data.
You would, faith data. See, but that's because you're trained in love, joy, peace, patient guidance.
I'm not trained. I'm created.
Right.
I'm not like a puppy dog. This is something that how I'm designed.
Right. Yeah.
Like
right.
I've always been saying.
Yeah. Like Paul says, I was made an apostle. I'm made a child of God. I was chosen. I was created.
Put in me.
Right. Yeah. So, but if you don't know it, you don't walk by faith, and you walk by sight.
It is a practice as well.
Yeah.
You have to practice it.
And and this week was a perfect example. I got thrown into an environment I did not care for, and I did verbally express my disgruntledness.
Oh, you let that?
Yeah. I let it out. Yeah, I felt it. I said what I had to say, and which allowed it to vent and get off me, and then from that moment forward, I was able to slowly kind of return back to the core being of my internal dialogue, and that's pretty much the way it went too. It was pretty much that was pretty much the way it went, because I did not care for that man. That was not fun. Where does this take place? It takes place everywhere. Yeah, it takes place everywhere.
What do you mean it takes place everywhere?
It takes place in your workplace, your school place. Anywhere on earth you find two human beings interacting with each other that can create feelings,
Okay, so I'll say the where, in this case, let's go different. Like we said before, the where is in the natural and the spiritual. Feelings are in both places.
There you go. Yes.
In both places.
Mm-hmm.
And which one you're going to let animate you is what we want to let you know, that there is more Don't let the natural animate you. Those natural feelings
Yeah.
animate you.
Yeah, you have power. You don't have to
power.
let that.
You
Yep.
don't have to.
Yep.
And it's so easy to let them because the natural comes first. That's what we know. That's what we grew up on, you know.
Yep. And when you, as you're saying that, the principle of we're in this world,
But we're not.
but
of
we're
this
not
world.
of this world. That's it. That's, so that's why, principles build and stack and drive your internal dialogue. And as they do, when these external things come, yeah, you're going to be pulled out of that space. That sight data is going to get a hold of you. And the what happens is the principles will catch you sooner, and then you'll have less of those moments in life.
Yes.
And you'll be
You'll
able to
see them coming. You'll be able to test the spirit.
Yep. Yep.
See how I
Yeah.
brought that back around?
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, it's beautiful. Yep. And all of this is designed for us to ultimately
Seek God.
seek God.
So
Seek
that's
God.
the purpose of this whole thing.
Yeah.
It's the purpose of us having feelings.
Yep.
Which I never thought about that in that perspective until this, this principle came about,
Yeah.
That the main point of us having feelings is to seek God. Wow. That is amazing, because if you think about it, those are wonderful things,
Right.
It's like
Wait a second.
that's everything.
That's everything.
It's
Every
how
emotion you've ever had.
it works to feel our way towards God.
Yeah. Yeah. Like another principle for godly sorrow. Sorrow is an emotion, it's a feeling. And what does godly sorrow do? It leads to repentance, man. You can't repent on yourself, like by yourself. If you're feeling good, there's no reason to repent. But mess around and do something that gets your butt in hot water. You be like, I never want to do that again. But that process, that emotional state of feeling good versus feeling evil, once you feel the evil, Paul says, I go to do good and evil is present. So that evil, if you're operating in the natural off of good and evil, you can go try to do a bunch of good, but evil is always going to be lurking to give you that emotional state. So you get knocked off that high horse and begin to seek God and understand who and what you are in Christ. And once you do, now you don't have to go through that emotional state of back and forth as much, as God works that out of you and purifies you.
It won't phase you. You'll see it. You'll notice it.
Yep.
It may be like a little tap or something. You're like,
Yeah.
okay, I see what's happening here.
Yeah. And
It's
that's
all right. It's all right.
and that's power. When you can see it.
For what it is.
See it for what it is. I got several guys, man, they're like, I can see it coming now, Derek. I can see it coming, and it works on both sides. The women can see it and the men can see it. They'll be like, oh, okay, you trying to bring me some sight data. All right, I got you. I don't walk by sight. I walk by faith.
No.
Right. Get that out of here.
That's all I said. I'll test those spirits.
No. Yeah. So when you understand natural sight data versus faith data, spiritual faith data, and you can walk, you're empowered, you can call things for what they are. It's very empowering. It's very exciting. It's very that's all I can say. Just love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control. In heaven, you can't feel the opposite.
You can't feel the opposite.
Yep.
I didn't do that right.
Yeah.
Anyway, move on.
Yep. And allotted periods. When, Acts talks about allotted periods. You have a life, right? It's already predetermined. You can't add a hair to your head. You can't add a day to your life. There's, these are principles that drive our internal dialogue. So there's promises. What's the one about obeying your parents?
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah. You live longer.
You live longer. That principle is true, and it's a beautiful principle.
And I think with that a lot of time too, like your lifespan, for instance, no man knows the hour or the moment or the day he's going to die, usually,
No, yeah.
And in that unknowing, that should let you know that you don't have time. You have to hastily get this in order. Seek this now, because you don't know,
Yep. And I think that's part of the process. Like, if you don't ever figure it out, and then you come to the end of your life, and then you finally get the big reveal, you're like, dude, I could have had this all the time. That, I think, it would be, like,
Sad.
yeah, like I could have been living my best life 10 years ago, or my whole life could have been.
And we do that now. I do it just like, if I should have known that back then. If I knew now,
Yep.
then what I know now,
Yeah.
I could have had that made. I would have known to change that sump pump. No,
What, your house flooded?
I don't even have a sump pump. I don't have a basement.
Right.
But anyway, I know I said that. I'm going to cut that out.
Right. But it's, learning about who you are as a spiritual being versus a natural happenstance. And I actually think that sump pump idea was actually a good idea. There's stuff around you in the natural that you should have fixed. You're running late for work.
Okay, let's change it. You're condemning me now.
No.
You are. Yeah, I got like trees growing out of my gutters at the time. I got to go clean that out.
Well, hey.
But I'm not getting on the ladder. I'm gonna have to pay somebody. I don't get on ladders.
Yeah,
I'm
love
too
joy.
old for that.
we go cover your gutters in love.
So you coming to help me out of love?
We might have to do that. Yeah, I got 4 kids that can help you.
Oh, I thought you were gonna come. You done put some workers on it.
Hey,
they're kids. Take
look,
them.
They're extension of me. I'm helping you out.
Touche.
But yeah, but something in the natural, your eye was brought to the fact that your tires are a little bit bald.
Mm-hmm.
So, instead of going to that concert, spending the money on the concert, maybe we should have fixed that tire.
Mm-hmm. Because on your way to the concert, flat. You're stranded. You missed the concert. Now you got to pay for a tow.
Yeah, and it just builds and builds and builds. Yeah, it snowballs. Yeah. And I've been there so many times in the natural that now in the spiritual,
same
thing applies. And without those natural lessons, I would not understand the importance of fixing my spiritual flat tires, fixing those things that are in my spiritual life to keep the internal dialogue, going to where when I'm in the natural, I'm in the world, I'm not of it. I'm not responding like every person. People say, man, there's something different about this person. Why didn't he get upset? Why didn't he have these issues? Why didn't he have those issues? People will look at you and see you're different, and that's a good thing because, this thing changed me. If it didn't change me, if it didn't change him, what good is it? So, if there's not something that's of value, why even bother with it?
So act now. Get your feelings in line with the spiritual.
Yes, and you will see the areas of life in your life where you're here and you want to express here, you'll find those things come together and you'll never look back. It doesn't mean that you won't go through whatever you go through because you're designed to feel good and evil.
Feel it.
Don't run. Yes.
Experience it.
Love move on, and then plant new seeds. Plant the seeds of eating the fruit. After you eat the fruit of love, joy, peace, there's going to be that core in there with seeds in it. Put those back in your heart.
So throw them out to the world.
Yep. And watch them blossom, grow, and then bear fruit, and then you get to eat that all over again. And it just winch, wash, repeat over and over again. As much as you possibly can say, that internal dialogue as to who and what you are, love, joy, peace,
patience, kindness, goodness,
faithfulness, gentleness, self-control.
Until next time. So, I would say today is a big day for us, for me and Derek, because this is our premiere episode.
Yes.
I know you guys said this is episode 9. How is it the premiere? But we started out. I'll just give you a little back history so you know what's happening. We started out back in January. We decided to do this podcast, and we were going to start in July. We don't need to say what year. But we were going to start in July, but we were going to get everything set up. How we're going to do it with all of our, format and everything. And Derek came to me. He was like, "Charles, man, let's just do it." I'm like, "Let's just do it. What do you mean? Let's just do it. See what happens."
Yeah.
And that's what we did. So if you look on in our feed, you'll see episode 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, and 7, and you can see how we've progressed over time. And so I think we got our format kind of down, how we like it, and what we're gonna stick with. And you can go back if you want to and watch episodes 1, 2, and 3. But I guess the content was good, but
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out the format and delivery and all that.
So
yeah.
just have some grace for us. But anyway, you can watch them. But 5, 6, and 7 are really important. It's like a primer for what we're talking about going forward.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe in this episode we'll also put a link to episodes 0 and 4. Those are the missing episodes.
Oh wow.
that we never posted. But episode 0 was about just how we got to become doing what we do now. How this all came about. And it's kind of long, I think. But anyway, we'll see if we put that in there. If you look in the description and it's there, click it.